Hi there.
Hello.
Guys, up 1 second.
Yes.
Hello there.
Greetings, Dwight.
Greetings, my
Hi.
brother.
1 second.
Yes, Stephen.
Yes, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. How are you doing?
Just a second, my.
Yeah, you can go on then.
I'm good.
I'm
What
just
part of
reading.
what part of Jamaica are you zooming in from?
Kingston.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. And I know it's around 3 p.m. time there, and it's noon here in Los Angeles. And it's very weird because, it never rains in Los Angeles usually, but it's pouring right now.
Ah.
We're having a lot of rain.
Well, I think that's better than the fire.
That is the true, man. That's very true. Very true. Now I'm recording you on several devices, Dwight. So if you see me looking down or fidgeting a little bit, it could be because of that. And if for some reason, I hope not, but if our screen were to freeze, we'll just give it a little bit to try to unfreeze. And if something bad happens, then I'll just try to call you back and we'll try it again or
Okay,
pick up where we left off.
that's fine. That's fine. That's good.
Okay, cool.
You're
Now,
hearing him okay? And all
yes,
of that, right?
Yes, everything is good. I can hear Dwight. I can see you guys. And I'm just so happy to get this opportunity, Dwight. I hope it's okay for me to just say it's such an honor to connect with a legend like yourself, someone who has contributed so much over the course of, I think, close to 60 years now to reggae music. And so for me to have this opportunity to speak with you and for you to take the time, I just want to really thank you. And
You're welcome. My pleasure.
thank you. And I want to, just to let the people who will later listen or read the interview know that I'm so excited to ask about a few different subjects. I want to, of course, talk to you about the spectacular new 8-track solo album called Knockout.
Right.
I've been listening to, it's been on my music player, as I told you, on repeat, and I love the album, so I have a number of questions about it. But I also, because, when I get a chance to talk to somebody, a foundational reggae musician as yourself, I want to ask you a few questions about your childhood and your coming of age. And also, you have such an extensive discography. There'd be no way I could ask you about all of the hit songs, but I want to try to ask you about a few. And of course, because you have played with so many legendary figures in reggae, I would be a fool, for lack of a better way of saying it, to not ask you about some of the memories about some of the legends of the people you have toured and recorded with, people like Bob Marley,
Right.
like Bunny Wailer, and
Right.
and Gregory Isaacs too.
Right.
I was just
Equal
watching,
vibration.
yeah, and Israel Vibration. The list goes on and on. And just to put it on the record too, I really want to try to cover. Like I say, there's so much of a breadth of work for you. But you of course were a founding member or in a very influential and important component of several very important bands in Jamaican music history, and of course these include the Sharks,
Yes.
Zap Pal,
Right.
and the Roots Radix, who
Right.
dominated reggae music. I will say that in the 1980s and 90s and perhaps even beyond. And then, of course, time permitting, there's the Distinguished Personalities Band, or DP Band, which I know you started. And then you have your whole award-winning solo career.
Yeah.
So this is all to say there's a lot to try to cover, and I know you don't have all day, so I'm going to try to talk a little bit fast and give you a chance to to speak your mind.
Elaborate.
Now, online, Dwight, I found 2 different release dates for that new album, Knockout. There's a March 2021, and then there's an also October 2021, though I thought perhaps that later date just may have been when it got released to iTunes and other streaming services. But since I'm talking to you, can you tell me, when did the album first come out?
Well, it was like a pre-release, that first date.
I see, in March.
It
Yes.
was, yeah, it was like a pre-release, experimental pre-release.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned to me before we connected today, and I wanted to ask you about that. So you wanted to maybe just test the waters with the album a little bit.
Yeah. And from what point of view would you like me to touch the waters? From from the musicians, or from what angle?
Well, what when you say you released it, as an experimental, just
Yes.
what do you mean by that? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay. Well, actually, we were experimenting to find the suitable, satisfying distributor for that.
Ah, yes. And I was just about to ask you this. Now, this album came out on the Aquagem label, but it's being distributed by VP Records. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the official state.
Okay, yes. And I mean, VP Records, of course, is a giant distributor of reggae music. So, that's not bad. That seems like a good move.
Yes, and my co-producer,
Yes.
Clive Davidson, he works with VP Records.
Yes.
So,
okay, I see. So I see the connection. Yes.
That's the connection there.
Now, honestly, like I say, I've been listening to the album, and I'm not just trying to puff you up, man. Because I listen to a lot of reggae music, so I wouldn't do that to you. But I think that every reggae listener should have this album in their collection. And honestly, I was kind of surprised listening to it that it hasn't gotten the kind of buzz that I think it deserves, as good as it is. How difficult has it been to try and get the word out and promote the album, given the pandemic and what we're going through right now in the world?
Yeah, it's been very difficult, because, as you know, the focus is not on music as much as health these days.
Yeah.
And life. So that was one of the reasons for the experiment, as I mentioned.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes,
Now this album, Knockout, it has, of course, some great reggae vibes on it, but of course, I think when I listen to it, it also has a very jazzy feel to it, and it also seems to have, it kind of has infused with a lot of different cultural influences. Would you agree?
I agree with you, because variety is the spice of life, as we say.
Yeah, man, that's true. Yeah.
And as a musician, I play a lot of different styles over the years.
Yeah.
And that comes out in my recordings.
For sure, I would agree with that.
It comes out. It just depends on the mood at the moment of expression and the vibes, the vibes around.
Yeah.
That brings out specific mood and,
true
approaches to the melodies.
True.
But basically, I consider myself a melody writer.
Yeah. Well, there's some great melodies on this album, for sure.
A melody writer as over being a guitarist.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Because what happens, Stephen, I started out singing first.
Wow. In the church?
Church.
Yeah.
My mother was a church lady.
Wow.
So she used to take me to church and make sure that I'm in church when I was a kid, like between early years before I even reached double figures.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was like, they have in Jamaica, we have a kiddies church service.
Yeah.
We call it Sunday school. I don't know where you are from.
For sure. Yeah, no, there are things just like that at my wife's church too.
Yeah. So Sunday school. So my mother used to have me going to 3 different Sunday schools on a Sunday.
Wow.
One just to keep me out of trouble.
Oh man. That's
I had
a lot of
to go
school.
to the early morning one, which is about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sunday school.
Wow.
And then the after lunchtime one, which is about 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
Sunday school again, and
Gosh.
then 3 o'clock. So I was almost living from Sunday school to Sunday school on Sundays. You know?
Wow. That's a
I
lot of
went
religion.
I have a secret to tell you.
Yeah.
I went to so Sunday school so much that in Jamaica we have a word we call it sculling. That is, I don't know if you know what that is. That means you skip class
Oh
or
man.
you skip school.
Say the word again.
Skull.
Scholar.
Like for pronunciation purpose, SCULL.
Ah, I see. I
That's-
never heard that before. No, I
Yeah.
never heard that before.
When the kid deliberately hides away from school or classes, we say he skull school.
Oh man, see, this is why it's so good to talk to somebody who can tell me what some of these words mean, because I would never
Yes.
know, man.
So I went to Sunday school so much that I sculled, like I started sculling the 12 o'clock one.
Yeah.
I went to bird bush, shoot birds,
Oh man.
mango trees. We used to go and raid the mangoes and all run up and down and mess up our clothes.
Yeah.
And when we get home, whipping.
You get in trouble. You get in trouble. Hey, because you talk about the beautiful mango trees, and I'm very jealous of you being in Jamaica. As beautiful as it is normally in Los Angeles, man, I have a special love. I love being in Jamaica, and and so when I look around, and one of the things about that album, so I wanted to ask you about with Knockout, is one of the great tracks on Knockout is a track which I think you released maybe 2 years earlier.
Yes.
It's one of the first tracks, but it's actually I think it's the second track on the album. It's called Cobra Man Bounce.
Right.
Yeah.
Second.
And that track is awesome, and it's very jazzy and a cool song. And the reason why I thought of it just now, because you were talking about Jamaica, is because you have a video. There's an official video that folks, I think everybody should pull up on their YouTube, right?
Right.
And they can check it out. And this Cobra Man Bounce video, I try to tell people, man, I don't care if you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Watch a Cobra Man bounce, because you're gonna immediately feel better.
Right.
Yeah, man. That is an
you.
awesome video. And is that the scenery? I assume that's Jamaica.
Some parts, many parts of it.
Yeah.
But if you notice later on,
Yeah.
at the end, we ended up in New York.
In New York City. I saw that at the last minute.
It was like a reflection of touring, touring.
Wow. Yeah. No, I saw that. I was going to confirm with you. That was going to be my next section. My next question was just to make sure that we were looking at New York City at the end of the video.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm glad you said that you was, but yeah, like I say, it's a very cool video. And one thing about the video I wanted to ask too is it seems like you're playing a very distinctive looking kind of guitar. And I don't know anything, Dwight. I wish I had any musical skills.
I was right here.
Oh man. I said,
It's a spirit. It's a Steinberger.
And I don't know anything about guitars, but this seems like the one that you have in the video is a little bit smaller than the normal guitar.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's much smaller.
It's much smaller. And so what do you call that guitar?
It's a Steinberger. Steinberger, yeah.
Wow.
Steinberger.
Yeah.
These guitars were specifically designed to accommodate traveling musicians.
Oh, wow. Because they're so easy to carry.
Yeah. And you can get it fit into the aircraft compartment, the luggage.
Yeah,
compartment
that makes a lot of
easily.
sense. Wow.
Because the guitars are so personal that and some of the airlines, if you leave it to them, you might get your guitar damaged, So because
I bet you will never let them check your guitar. You probably hold a guitar and say, no, you can't.
Whenever I'm traveling, whenever I'm on the go,
Yeah.
Guitar I use, yes.
Yeah. So
I've got some more guitars, but that's the Traveler.
And how important, Dwight, how important is the construction of a guitar to the sound that the guitar ultimately produces? How important is that?
You see this thing here?
Yeah.
Called ears.
Wow.
This is one of the main secret, not the only secret, but the main secret to the sound.
Yeah.
Because it's really a fantastic effort, a fantastic accomplishment to get the sound that you want
From the
from a
guitar.
guitar.
Yeah.
You have to deal with electronic amplification, equalization,
Wow.
and you know, it's not just like an acoustic guitar where that's the sound you're gonna get when you play an acoustic guitar without any electronics.
Wow.
You know, that's the sound of that guitar.
Yeah.
But an electric guitar now, you have you have the access of altering the intonation and the sound depending on the
Acoustics?
and the environment
Yeah.
and the amplifiers
Yeah.
to what you want, what you're hearing in your head.
Wow.
It
Wow.
starts from the, if you're not hearing,
Then you don't, then you're not gonna get
you
anywhere.
don't know where you're in the dark.
Oh man, you're gonna get lost quickly.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm glad I asked you about that. Now I do have some more questions about Knockout, but if it's okay, I want to circle back to them towards the end, because what I want to do is switch up for a minute and switch gears and just ask you, try to clear up a few facts, because you know, you can read a lot of things online and sometimes you can't believe everything you read.
That's
and so
true.
sometimes I like to try to check out some of these things that I read when
Yeah.
especially about a reggae legend like yourself, and just make sure it's accurate. So I understand you were born in the Manchester parish in Jamaica, but that you moved to Kingston fairly early on as a youth. Is that true?
That's true. That's true.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Turn this thing off.
No worries.
Busy. Call you
Right.
back. So I'm so sorry.
No, don't worries. No worries. So, but I'm glad to confirm that that part is at least much as accurate. And when did you and your family move to Kingston?
Okay. My mother was my mother and father.
I see. I have the same, hey, Dwight, I have the same thing. I have the same thing.
A priest once told me that, oh, so you're one of the guys that your mother fathered you. It's deep, you know, but you can read between the lines. My mother fathered me. So when I was like 3 years old,
Yeah.
I was born in Manchester,
Yeah.
but she got a job in Kingston, and then she took me to Kingston.
And I wanted to ask, what kind of work did your mom do? What kind of job did she get?
She was a helper.
Yeah.
She was a helper, and learning dressmaker.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm. So she took me to Kingston, and I had some aunts in Kingston. So we stayed from one aunt to the other aunt until she got settled.
Now,
So I grew up in Kingston, and as a youth, I started out at Swallowfield School. That's in Constant Spring,
yeah.
close by our workplace. Then
Yeah.
I went to Russell School. That's in the Maxwell Avenue area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read about that. That's near Channel 1, of course, right?
Yeah, just above Channel 1. And then I went to Trenchtown School, which is in Trenchtown, as you know.
Yeah.
And finally, I went to St. Andrew Technical High School, which is at Spanish Town Road at the bottom of Maxwell Avenue.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, Dwight, in a fairly recent interview that you gave, I think it was a radio interview, you mentioned that you had an uncle who played the violin. Is this true?
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
so,
had an
yeah, go
uncle.
ahead.
Yeah, his name was John. So we call him Uncle John.
Yeah.
So when I was in the country, like in the formative years, up to 3 years old, before I came to Kingston with my mom,
Yeah.
I always recall my uncle. He went on farm work. You know, farm working in the States.
For sure.
So a lot of the rural people used to go farm working, and then they bring back radios and gramophones and stuff like that for that. I remember he went farm work and brought back a gramophone. Do you know what a gramophone is?
I have only seen one a couple times, man. I haven't seen
Hey, do you remember
pictures.
those? Do you remember those cars you see in the movies that you had to go and crank up at the front?
I've seen that too in the pictures. Yeah.
That's how the gramophone used to
Yeah.
operate.
Yeah.
You had to wind it up,
Crank it up.
and then yeah. So he brought back a gramophone and he brought back a violin.
All from the United States.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
So
Cool.
he used to practice. He wasn't like a trained musician or anything. He used his ear to practice the violin. So on weekends,
Why did he decide to buy the violin? Just why violin? Or you don't know?
I guess he just loved the violin.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
was just a little baby, so I just
Yeah, you
loved
don't know.
the
Yeah,
violin.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. So he was playing it.
Yeah, he used to play on like Sunday evenings after church and stuff. He went and sat on the front porch with his violin, and then we all would gather around and watch him fiddling with his violin. We call it fiddle at that time. We never used to call it violin.
And you were very young. You were very young then. You were very young.
Yeah. So I guess that's where I got my musical influence from initially. And then the church did the rest because I used to live in church.
Because, with somebody who has such a musical ability as yours, I always try to explore this a little bit too and just make sure. But in addition to your uncle who played the violin, was there anybody else in your family who was a skilled musician or singer?
Well, the only person I know was, like, I know I'm related to Ernie Ranglin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like far cousins, like maybe fifth or fourth or fifth cousin.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's an interesting.
Yeah, and he's a genius. So
hey.
Somewhere along the way, a little of it spilled my way, not much.
No, I would beg to differ. But so I'm so glad that I asked you about that. Now, as a youth, I know that you have said before that you began on some handmade instruments that you were playing in bands and you were doing all kinds of gigs with. And one thing I wanted to ask about that was, did your mom and your aunts, what did they think about you, getting so interested in music and eventually saying, this is what I'm going to do with all these bands? What was their reaction? Did they encourage you or discourage you?
Okay. All positive, but let me back up a bit.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like how you spelled it out a while ago.
Okay.
Because remember, as I told you, I was a singer before.
True.
Yeah, so most of what I did was singing.
Yeah. Okay.
So they used to encourage me, the family around. They used to encourage me because they said I had a beautiful voice. Even my teacher at school, up to when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
They had a Christmas concert.
Yeah.
And I sang for the breaking up. And the teacher, when I was finished, the teacher said, "Wow, I think we're going to hear you on the radio one day, Dwight."
That's awesome. What was the song you sang? Breaking Up?
Yeah. Breaking up is like the last day of school when you have a class concert or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And this was Trenchtown School.
But
And
the song itself was called Breaking Up?
no.
Oh, I see.
Breaking up is like,
That's just when the last day of school.
yeah, the
I see.
last day before the holidays.
I see. That's what they call it in Jamaica. I didn't know that.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
but my parent, my and family, they always encouraged me, and I can remember getting money. They used to like give me some coins, when I
Wow.
sang at home.
That's cool.
So
That's cool. And did you, I think you had a band I read somewhere.
Yes,
Did
I'm
you had
coming
a
up to
band?
that.
Mighty, the Mighty Cleos?
I'm coming up to that.
Yeah.
The history of the first band I had when I was about 14, 15. That band was, I called it the Sharks.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Right.
Wasn't there a band even before that? The Mighty
No, there was no band before that.
So I read somewhere, just to ask you about it, because I read this, that when you were 12, you had a band called the Mighty Cleos, no?
That's the Cleos.
Yeah. No?
that was really when we as I had a group,
Okay.
singing group
Yeah.
called the Mighty Cleos.
Okay.
And then we were influenced by the Beatles.
Sure.
That is when we started making our own instruments, because we were so poor we couldn't afford to purchase.
Yeah.
The Mighty Cleos merged into the Sharks. As a matter of fact, the same priest that I was telling you about, he renamed us the Sharks.
Wow.
So it's the same group.
I'm sorry, now I may have missed this when you said this earlier. Who is the guy who named you the Sharks?
It was a priest, a Catholic priest.
Is his name Father Dunstan? Because I was going to ask you about him.
Exactly. That's a person.
And isn't he the same priest that I was going to ask you? I'm still going to ask you. I might ask it now, I guess. But isn't he the same priest who took you to Studio One?
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly. That's the same priest.
So he named the Sharks. He
Yeah,
was the one who said the Sharks. Why did he? And I wanted to ask, I'm so glad you said that, because I wanted to ask, I was going to ask you, but I guess I should ask Father Dunstan. I was going to say, why did he name the group the Sharks? Why the Sharks?
Well, I don't quite know, but I think maybe because the Sharks was more aggressive. In terms of the Mighty, we were called the Mighty Cleos. We called ourselves the Mighty Cleos before because there was a terrible hurricane that passed through Jamaica. And it was called Cleo.
Wow. Nobody knows this, Dwight. I'm so happy I asked this. I'm so happy I asked you to tell me the story.
Yeah, man. So we named ourselves the Cleo, but we said the Sharks.
Sharks is better. Now, and you have said often, and you just said just a moment ago that you patterned yourself off of the Beatles, that you like the Beatles. Why did you like the Beatles so much? I mean, everybody likes the Beatles, but why did you guys like the Beatles so much?
The reason, this is the reasoning behind it now.
Yeah.
Because we were a singing group in that time era, that time span, you had groups, all singing groups, patterning themselves off foreign groups, like the Wailers would pattern themselves off the Impressions.
Yeah.
Just Mayfield and Impressions, And you had a group with Mr. Yes Indeed Tomoko, and it was called the Jamaicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a bunch of trios and duets, like the Blues Busters was a duet, and Higgs and Wilson was a duet. So you had a lot of groups. So we wanted to be different, and the Beatles were just around that time.
They were exploding.
Taking over exploding.
True.
So we say, but if we were playing instrument while we were singing, that's when we were the Mighty Cleos, you know.
Yeah.
We could be the Jamaican Beatles, Jamaican version of the Beatles. So we decided there and then that we're going to learn to play instruments and sing as well, to be
Nice.
different from the old.
Nice. Yeah,
entourage
what the other
Jamaican.
people were doing. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we did, you know, each one of us, like those four of us, myself with Lloyd Robinson,
Yeah.
who was the drummer,
Yeah.
not the popular singer that sing couscous, but drummer.
Okay.
The reason why he was selected to pursue the drum
Yeah.
was because he was from a poco yard. You know what is poco?
I'm not sure if I know.
Poco is a kind of religious cultish thing, but not really a demonic cult, more a religious.
I heard something before called Pocomania. No?
Pocomania. Yeah, that's the complete slur. Pocomania.
Okay.
They used to keep church and service.
I didn't mean to say a slur. Oh no, Dwight. But I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So he lived in a home where they had Pocomania meetings.
Wow.
Services.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and he was closer to the drum, because the drum was a vital part of their ceremony.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
So
That makes sense.
Say,
That's how you chosen.
Yeah, you
be the drummer. Yeah.
Right. A friend of mine got a guitar for a birthday present.
Wow.
But he lent me one time and then he took it back.
Oh wow.
So I decided, well, we're just going to have to make my guitar.
Make it yourself.
Yeah, I will make a
Oh
guitar.
man.
And as the drummer, well, together we had to collaborate and make a drum set. Now this drum set, trap set,
Yeah.
we went around in the darkness of the night and stole the garbage bins
Oh wow. To create
of
the
our
drum.
community.
Wow.
And that's where we got the frame for the drums. And then we went to the Coronation Market, that's downtown,
Yeah.
and bought goat skin, goat skin.
Yeah. To cover
That's
this, to
what we
put over the drum
Yeah.
skin. Wow.
So, yeah, and then we got the other fandangles from the hardware store, like the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
So we created the drum, and even our first symbol, it was zinc, zinc that they use on the roof.
Yeah. Wow.
We cut it out.
That's made that into
Our
the
first
symbol. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
man,
crazy.
so-
Now
and
the Dwight.
when we were finished, we painted it.
Oh wow. So people couldn't really tell. They couldn't.
Painted it, and
It
boy,
looked like the real
Father
deal.
blessed us with talent, so that we adapted to these instruments very quickly. The bass player,
Yeah.
Alfred Croslin,
Yeah.
he did just like what I did. We got
Carved
wood.
out his own bass.
Yes.
Now
The
with
only
these.
person that didn't make his own instrument
Yeah.
was the keyboard player, which was really a harmonica, a melodica player,
Okay. What was the keyboard player's name?
Danny McFarlane.
McDanny
He's not
McFarlane.
popular now, but
Okay.
he was a very good musician. He used to live in a yard with a church. So he used to play the piano in the church. But the piano, we couldn't carry it around with us.
You can, yeah, it's not portable. So yeah, well, I was so impressed with when I read and saw that, you guys had made your own instruments because, as I'm about to ask you, that, because many people would go here next, which is that with these homemade instruments, you guys, recorded all these #1 hit songs at Studio One.
Well, not all the instruments in the studio. We used to play live when we on the road.
Yeah.
We had our own instrument. Even our first TV show that we got, it was our own homemade instrument. But once we got into the studio, there were instruments lying around much better than what we had, you know.
So and so on.
Some of the stuff, like maybe apart from one of the drummers, so would be we use it in the studio. But like even the guitar, in the studio, there was a good guitar in there at Coxon, and I remember I borrowed the guitar like when I was doing the sessions that included Put It On with the Whalers.
Yeah.
If you listen, you hear a guitar with a tremolo, whammy bar as the introduction, and throughout the song. That was Coxon's guitar that I borrowed then for that.
I wanted to ask about that. That's going to be one of my questions because I with that guitar. So let me just back it up a minute and say, you know, you guys had been brought. Let me ask you the question I wanted to ask about Father Dunstan, because I read in an article, I believe it was either in the Gleaner or in the Observer, that Father Dunstan actually brought you over to Studio One and said to Coxon, "These guys are good. You should listen to them." Is that what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Because we used to perform at Father Dunstan's church.
Okay.
Right? We were a part of, like, some of us were a part of the CYO, that's a Catholic youth organization.
Okay.
And the reason is because they had a lot of parties, social, we call it, a lot of girls and stuff around, you know.
That's a good reason to be part of that organization.
Yeah, and we did a lot of field trips all over the place. So whenever there was any celebration or anything like that at the church, our band used to play. So that's how he knew
you guys were good. Now, and he must have, how was it that, I mean, I guess he was a music lover and he must have known about
definitely, exactly.
And he must have known about Studio One and decided to walk you guys to.
I think if he wasn't a priest, he would have been a promoter or a manager.
Wow.
Because he discovered people like Bob Weston, which was a very great Jamaican singer. Howard Butler, keyboard player. He actually took him and did the Ed Sullivan show in America.
Wow.
So he used to be very closely attached to entertainment and the music.
Wow.
So even when we started, as our band, he used to act as like, try to help us by getting us jobs at various functions and even at hotels. He used to get like one and two off gigs at hotels.
Did he live? Did Father Dunstan live long enough to see, you know, that you became a professional musician and it worked out?
Yes, he did, but he had migrated back to, I think it's New York.
Okay.
Yeah, but we tried to keep in touch through other members who were closer to him, you know. And so he knew that I was because I want to tell you, you know, the Sharks rose so fast that while we were at Coxon, we didn't spend a long time there, you know, but we made a big impact on the local music scene with number ones.
With Ken Booth and the Gay Lads.
Gay Lads, Bob Marley, you name them, you know. So we were there we spent about maybe a month or so.
When you did, if you don't mind, when you did Put It On, I just want to go back to that for a second, because of course it's a great Bob Marley and the Wailers and Bunny and Peter tune, and a famous one, I think, I know. And so I was just so curious, you know, had you say that was an electric guitar that was in the studio. Before that day that Bunny and Peter and Bob walk in and you guys record the song, did you get a chance to practice on the electric guitar?
No.
Oh no, you didn't even get it. Wow.
No.
So
I didn't get to practice on an electric guitar, but the one that I made.
oh wow. So
No,
that was your first. That was the first time.
First time I used an whammy.
Wow. I'm
You
just so that's so amazing.
see, when you're a kid, you're very experimental, you know.
Yeah.
So I
And
see this thing on this guitar, and I say, well, I hear it goes on. So I just utilize it, you know, come like the kids nowadays with the computer, you know. They are so adventurous.
did any of you guys in the Sharks, yourself or anybody, have any idea when you did put it on with Bob and Bunny and Peter? Did you have any idea, you know, to use a Jamaican term, that they were gonna bust, you know, so big like they did? Did you know?
Well, we always dream. We always dream. We always dream. Whatever we did, we always dream that, you know, it would take us to a higher level. But
Yeah,
not in our wildest dream could we visualize that reggae music will reach the heights that it has reached.
for
You know?
sure, for sure. Yeah,
No.
yeah,
But even as with our own homemade instruments, when we were playing at like Christmas parties and stuff,
yeah,
and the reaction that we always seem to be getting was
Yeah.
so positive that I personally knew that, you know, there's something here, you know, there's something here, and the sky is the limit. You know?
for sure.
But
Now,
we didn't know the sky would be so high.
yeah, no, that's true, and I'm glad it is. Now, Dwight, I have to ask because, like many people, my entrance into reggae music was through Bob Marley, and
Yeah.
so I have to ask, was recording the recording when you did with Put It On with Bob, is that your fondest, best memory of hanging around Bob, or when you think about Bob Marley? Is there some other different memories that you could possibly share that you know that you recall about being with the skipper, as they used to call him?
Yeah, well, for sure. I didn't have a whole lot to do with Bob Marley.
Yeah,
I had much more what you'd call memories of interacting with Bonnie Wheeler.
and I'm going to ask you about those next.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But for the time that I can remember being in touch with Bob Marley,
yeah,
I always remember that he always remember that them youth would have been the Wheelers, you know, band. And then you would have been the Wheelers band. If them never go away. Because at peak of recording at Coxon, a hotel manager had come
yeah,
from Freeport, Grand Bahama. And
Yeah.
he decided he was going to leave Jamaica without us. So we got up. We didn't have any passport or anything. And within days, like it took about 3 or 4 days, they were able to get a passport and outfit and everything and contract sign up.
and the Sharks
So the Sharks swam out to the Bahamas.
The Sharks swam out to the Bahamas, and my understanding is, and this is after just to for everybody's for everybody I know, you know, but after you guys had, you know, you were on a dynamite trajectory at Studio One.
Yeah.
You had recorded all of these #1 hit songs,
Yeah.
put it on with the people we mentioned, and then suddenly, you know, you went to the Bahamas as a group, as you're saying, and you had a residency for,
Yeah.
I think, close to almost 2 years.
Right, that's correct. That's correct.
That you were out there. And I was so curious about this because one question I wanted to ask is, I know that you have, I think in the past, talked about how, you know, first of all, it was a very lucrative thing that you guys were able to make some money as musicians.
Right.
And
Exactly.
also that you got a lot of practice time.
Right.
And so you got a lot out of it. But I wanted to still ask, do you still, in hindsight, though, have a kind of a regret in any way that you did take the residency instead of staying on that trajectory that you were on with the Sharks at Studio One? Because after you went to the Bahamas, the Sharks broke up.
Yeah, when we came back to Jamaica, we broke up, but
Yeah.
no regrets. No regrets.
No regrets.
Everything was for a reason.
Right. And because then you would meet Mike Williams, I believe.
No, that's when we came back to Jamaica.
Okay. Okay.
But just to finish off,
Yeah.
Bob, I can say, you hearing me still?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I can say, next crucial encounter with Bob was, we were playing, this is later on, after he made his name.
Yeah.
And, things were happening for him that I can remember I can remember that he said he used to hire us sometimes.
Yeah.
Session, right?
Yeah.
The session, and he used to pay us. That is Zappo now, not the Sharks.
Okay.
Individuals.
He would hire Zap. Bob would hire Zappow for sessions.
Yes.
Okay.
And he would pay us like 3 times.
Wow.
What the regular payment
Nice.
that the regular producers were paying. He would pay us 3 times that amount. So
Wow.
that's how he treated musicians. That is why he's so blessed, yeah. Because he always tried to uplift the musician.
Thank you so much for telling me about that.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to know that.
When you work for Bob,
Yeah.
you're going to get at least 3 times the amount what the regular producers then pay. If
Yeah.
they're paying 1,000 per track,
Yeah.
Bob will pay 3,000.
Wow.
So he was a very kind person, very, very kind. And when you work for him, you put your heart into it because he isn't holding back with the cash.
Respect. That's so nice. Now I'm so glad to know that you told this story. Now I know, like you say, with Bunny Wailer now, you guys, I believe I either heard or read an interview where you talked about how you and Bunny were actually schoolmates and you played marbles and you played other childhood games before you even associated together in music. True?
That's true. We used to do like make kites, and we used to meet up in our wayward boyish style in Jamaica.
Yeah. Earl 6. Now you actually, I heard you tell this and it reminded me of something. I think Earl 16. I recently interviewed Earl 16, singer Earl 16,
yeah.
And he said that there was a game where people, when it rained in Jamaica, would make boats, and you were race boats. Yes. And I think you did do that too with Bunny.
Yeah. We used to race. We call them board horse.
Wow.
Board horse.
Wow.
So you used to cut out some little pieces of board.
Yeah.
When it rains and the gutter water comes down along the road street side.
Yeah.
And while it's raining or after it just finished raining, we the boys used to go there, and
you can do it right now in Los Angeles, man. It is raining right now where I am. We can race the boats right now.
We race some board horses there now.
Yeah. But now with Bunny now, of course, many of the reggae, aficionados, people who know their music, will know that you recorded, many tracks with Bunny, including, hit songs like Cool Runnings, and you played on the albums like Rock and Groove.
Yeah.
And Jabi, as he's often called, he died not long ago, very sadly. We lost him. What would you say is one of your fondest memories? I know there's probably so many to choose from, but when you think about the Bunny Wailer, what do you think about?
One of my fondest memory with Bunny is selling out Madison Square Gardens.
Wow, cool.
Because he did it as a single artist, and he did it. There was a release in the newspaper there that how could a foreigner from the third world come and sell out Madison Square Garden? That's unheard of,
Wow.
So that was one of my great memories with Bunny. So many, as I said.
Yeah.
Another one was in Los Angeles, your area.
Yeah.
When he did his first tour, I think it was, and he had three different backing bands.
Yeah.
He had Sly and Robbie. He had Roots Radix.
Yeah.
And he had Solomonic Orchestra as backing bands.
Yeah, that's not a bad lineup at all.
Yeah. So that was fantastic as well.
That's awesome. Awesome.
And youth consciousness, this youth consciousness show in Jamaica was also a classic, because it was a great review, forward-thinking review of what presenting a cultural reggae show was supposed to look like.
Wow, I wish I could have seen that.
Yeah, that's and I haven't been able to see it on any
footage. I would love to see some video of that.
Yeah, because he had dancers line up, like six men.
Yeah.
Male dancers, female dancers, doing exotic dancing during the performance. It was a great, that was really a very highlight in reggae.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. That's so cool. I'm so glad that sounds awesome. Hey, Dwight, before I forget, because we talked briefly about the Bahamian residency that you had, and because I had asked you this before the interview, and so that you probably knew I was going to ask you something about it, but there's this movie online that you have a number of credits in different films, and one of them is a movie by the name of Smile Orange.
Smile Orange, yes.
Yeah, and so I had asked you about the film because I was like, I watched and I kept looking, well, which one is it? And at one point I thought you were a lifeguard. I told her, I was like, wait a minute, it may be that. I said maybe that's the way. And so why don't you tell I asked you, I'll just ask you now what I asked you before our interview, which is,
well, let me tell you the story.
Yeah, please.
The only part I played in that film, being a part of the band, Zappo band, which was in the background at a club scene on Red Hills Road. The club was tit for tat, and there was they shot a scene there, and they had the band, Zappo set up and played in the background. So it wasn't like I was a star or a featured performer.
But still you're in the movie, and I thought it was a very, very interesting movie.
Yeah,
and I think
it's one of the biggest movie that came out of Jamaica, Smile Orange.
And I think people will go, maybe after they listen to this interview, they may go back on. It's available on YouTube. You can actually watch the entire film, and so people will now probably go back and see. Well, hey, can I see Zap Pow in one of the nightclub scenes playing?
Right.
You see Dwight Pinkney is there playing. But because I wanted to ask two things about that film. So the film, it really kind of explores you know, some of the colonialism and the racism and sort of like the classism and kind of the underbelly of the tourist scene and the hotels and the resorts in the Caribbean, in the Jamaica. And, you know, I find this fascinating because, you know, I often kind of think about these things as a tourist myself in Jamaica, you know, watching how the people interact with both the people who are at these resorts and so forth. And so I have to ask you, because you yourself were playing, you had this residency at a tourist. So I thought it was so fascinating that you were then in a film. And I wanted to ask you, when you did your residency, did you also see kind of some of that ugliness? You know, did you observe some of it?
Fortunately for me, I didn't have any of those bad experiences that I had, those ugliness. I don't know why. I'm trying to think, how come I didn't have to go through some of that stuff?
Hey,
I guess I was lucky.
hey, I can't knock that. There's nothing
That's the
wrong with
most
that.
I can say. But, and personally, I wouldn't be tolerating some of what I see happens, you know?
Yeah.
Because,
No, I think that's fair. I think the movie remains relevant today. The movie is relevant still.
yes, that's why I said maybe I was lucky, or maybe, I don't know. I can't explain, but I
And
didn't.
the music in the movie, of course, because of course Zappao is in there, but the music in the film itself, the score is so great. And then I realized after I watched the movie why it's so great, because the music was made by a jazz legend whose name is Melba Liston. And I understand that Melba Liston was, you know, at some point, I know I'm jumping all over, but at some point, I'm going to ask about how, when I haven't even gotten to Zappao, but at some point, I'm going to ask towards the end of Zappao, when Zappao disbanded, about how you went to the Jamaican School of Music. And I know, so I'll get there. I'm going to ask a few questions because I do have some questions about that. But I know that Melba Liston, you know, was one of your tutors there. And I was curious, is that how you got the role in the film? Is that how you?
No, she was one of my tutors at the Edna Manley School of Music, cultural school. But that's not that. I didn't get a personal role in the film. I was just a part of the band.
Just in the band, yeah, I know, but I just thought it was so interesting, the connection that you had, and so I'm glad that that I asked that. Now, I wanted to move just for a second. There's one other Shark song, if I have to ask about it, because it's so important. It's a very important song in your discography. And of course, you know that I'm going to be asking, you know, about the song "How Could I Live," which is a song that you wrote, and that a song that has been famously covered by just about everybody, but also very importantly, Dennis Brown. And you have said before, I believe, that this is your greatest composition. I believe there's a quote that you said that, and that, you know, I believe you've even credited that composition, that song, with one of the reasons why you were awarded in 2014 the Order of Distinction by the Jamaican government, a giant honor, you know, where the Prime Minister is a picture of you getting your award. You know, I wanted to ask about that song, and I was curious whether Dennis Brown, you know, did you ever talk to him about that song, and did he ever thank you? You know, did he ever say, "Hey, Dwight, you know, hey, thanks for the song, man"?
No, but Dennis Brown is a great soul, you know.
Yeah.
And I knew him from he was like a little just coming into the music, you know.
Yeah.
But we didn't really talk about the song, because what a lot of people don't realize is, in Jamaica, when the producers produce a song, produce an artist, the artists hardly have any say as to the production.
Wow. Yeah.
after he goes into the studio,
Yeah.
back in the days, right?
Right.
Like Joe Gibbs was a producer and he produced the song. He wasn't even in the studio when the song was being recorded by Dennis Brown.
Right.
Right? Because Lloyd Parks and Willie Lindo and those guys, that Bobla
Yeah.
and Bo Peep
Yeah.
and the engineer Chuni, we call him Chuni. Chuni introduced the song to Dennis Brown,
Yeah.
right? But Chuni didn't even know the history of the song because that song was done from in 1966,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
For original Sharks recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was put on, Coxsone had placed it on the flip side of a song by
Marshall Griffiths. Yeah.
Marshall Griffiths and Jeff Dixon.
Wow.
And Jeff Dixon was working on the radio, right? And their song was called Words, right?
Yeah.
So nobody
knew about it.
nobody bothered to turn over.
They didn't know about it. Yeah.
So that Words got all the play. But on the flip side of Words, no, you had How Could I Live? That's all Sharks original.
Yeah.
So Chuni introduced it to Dennis Brown.
That's how he found out about it.
And none of them probably knew that it was that I was.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
And the producer, Joe Gibbs,
Yeah.
just from a financial point of view, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't like someone who would be doing the research to find out
Who's the one? Yeah.
who's the writer.
Who's the one who owns it? Who's the one who made the
All
song?
they used to do was put either version
Yeah.
or adapted.
True. Right. And now suddenly it's a whole new song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
So poor Dennis now, Dennis sing the song and the song started taking off. And then I said, wait, how come nobody not talk to me about my song?
Well, what's funny? It's funny because I just realized talking to you, like I say, I recently interviewed Earl 16. The same thing happened to him. The same thing, because he had a song called Malcolm X. And Dennis Brown came and he blew up the song. I mean, Earl 16, his version is still pretty well known too, but Dennis Brown's, I think, version of Malcolm X of his song. So Dennis covered a lot of people's songs, and and they blew them up. Did you ever get to back Dennis when he was singing that song?
On stage?
Yeah.
No. Lloyd Parks and did all the backings for Dennis on stage.
Yeah.
But I've recorded other songs with Dennis, lots of other songs with him. But
yeah, that's why I was just curious, because I know you spend a lot of time playing and working with Dennis. I was curious if by somehow you ended up on stage and he's singing "How Could I Live" and you maybe playing, but that would be Lloyd Parks.
Lloyd Parks, We the People.
Now, I noticed, and since we're talking about Dennis Brown, I noticed that the third track on your new album, Knockout, which I've been saying is a fantastic album, is called Tribute to Matador. And this is a very, very chill, laid back tune. And I didn't even realize at first that this track that's on the new album is actually a tribute to Dennis Brown. And then when I researched to look a little further, I saw that there's an instrumental. This is actually an instrumental from a Dennis Brown song, I think. I want to confirm with you, but Dennis Brown has a song, Things in Life, which was released on the Matador. So I was like, oh, this is how he came up with this.
Yeah, well, let me give you a little history about the creation of this Knockout album, right?
Yeah, please.
You see that song you mentioned, Cobra Man Bounce?
Yeah.
Okay, that was like the first track that was done.
Yeah.
towards this album. My friend Clive Davidson, he works with VP Records, right?
Yeah.
He, from time to time, he used to ask me to do guitar tracks for him. So he sent this track and wanted me to do guitar on it for him.
Wow.
So when I did the track, I noticed that the singer that was being used on the Cobra Man Bones original track was a good friend of mine called Winston Francis.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we grew up like from in that same pre-musician era
Wow.
as kids in and around Maxwell Avenue area in
Wow.
Walton Park Road. So very good friend of mine. Well, we used to call him Cobra Man.
Wow. That's how that name got that song. That's how that track.
Well,
Wow. Cool.
We like when I just started amateur singing,
Yeah.
I entered a competition at the Carib Theater called A Star Is Born.
Wow. Cool.
And Sonny Bradshaw was like the orchestra, the band, the backing band. And I won my first round and went on to my second round, final round now. And Winston Francis, he won his first round and was there as well for this final.
Wow.
And I did my original song called I Will Accept You As You Are. I haven't recorded it. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. That's now every time when I listen to the Cobra Man bounce, now I know.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna ask you, how did you name it that?
He did a song called, he had a group. His song was called Tommy. That's a popular Tommy.
Okay.
Tommy Milo, right?
Yeah.
But his voice was so sweet.
Wow.
That I Will Accept You As You Are, and me didn't have a chance to win. He won the competition. He beat me to the competition.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting.
That's initially where we clashed musically.
I see.
We have been friends ever since, all through the years coming up. And he has turned out to be an extraordinarily great artist,
Yeah.
if you know of him.
Well, I'm glad to know that I was definitely, I had forgotten that I wanted to know how it was that song was named. I'm glad you told me. Dwight, what I want to make sure I do is ask about Zapow. I have to move on to Zapow a bit because I have to be, and I'll be honest, I wasn't as familiar with Zapow as I should be. And before I, interviewed you today, I spent some time, going back and listening. And I think, and from what I've read too, it kind of jibes with kind of coincides with what I read, which is that I think that, and you tell me what you think about this, that I think that Zapow is a band whose the recognition of what the work that Zapow did is only growing, and it's only, now that people are really seeing, wow, these tunes are so fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you can listen to some of these songs today, and it sounds cutting edge.
Exactly, Stephen. Zapow, as we in the music business, some of us say, way ahead of our time, right?
Yeah, I think that's so.
Way ahead of our time. When the Sharks was disbanded in 1969.
Yeah.
Myself and Michael Williams.
Yeah.
We're kind of gigging with a band called Untouchables. Untouchables. That was a hotel band.
Okay.
And it was being led by Winston Turner.
Okay.
Great trumpeter from Carlos Malcolm band.
Okay.
He was the band leader.
Okay.
So he hired me as guitarist and hired Mikey as Mikey was bass player. So we used to be like roomies, Mikey and myself,
Yeah.
while we were at the Hilton Hotel as resident band in Ochias.
So you guys were good friends.
Yeah, man, and we knew each other from Maxfield Avenue days.
Yeah, so you already knew each other too.
Yeah. So we decided that we love the recording side of this business.
Yeah.
And when you're on the North Coast, as we call it, the hotel area, you get to play for tourists every night, but the music just disappears.
Yeah.
But in recording,
That's right.
the record lasts for like
forever
and beyond.
Yeah.
So we decided, you know what, we're going to form a band and go back to Kingston and reside.
Who decided that the band should be called Zapow and
Michael Williams.
And because Zapow, when you listen to it, and I swear I tried to see whether somebody had asked you this before, but I couldn't find it. And I want to ask, because Zapow sounds like almost like a comic book, like a Zapow.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
how did Michael Williams decide that?
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, he said when I queried him about the Zapow thing,
Yeah.
he said, "Well, we want action, man. We want impact. You know,
True.
we want energy.
Respect.
Zapow."
Yeah, I like that.
He was a very futuristic thinker, you know.
Respect. Now he passed. Unfortunately, he passed away. I believe in 2000, 2005.
Yeah, he passed away in the 90s. But if you know the magazine called, you're in the business, so you should know the magazine which was called Reggae Report.
Yes, I know. I'm familiar.
That's his brainchild.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Great innovator.
Wow.
Yeah, Michael Williams. So
yeah.
we decided to form this band.
Yeah.
And he decided we call it Zapow. And then we came back to Kingston. And then we started gathering. I think Madden was the first guy that we took in, David Madden, the trumpeter.
Yeah.
And
David Madden, yeah. Glenn DeCosta for the saxophone, right?
Yeah, they used to be at camp together. That's David and Glenn.
They were friends.
Yeah, at camp.
Yeah.
They used to play in the military band.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we took them in, and we had a drummer called Danny Moat.
Danny Moat. Okay.
He was the son of the great Danny Moat, which is a great bass player.
And now you had a number of drummers, I think, because later would be Max Edwards, I think, was a drummer, right, for the Zapow.
Right. Yeah. What happened to as time went on, we used to change personnel.
You had a lot of vocalists, because I know you say before, correct me if I'm wrong, you had Bunny Ruggs at one point. You had
one time Jacob Miller was singing with us, you know. We did a tour with Jacob Miller. We supposed to have done a show with Bunny Ruggs.
Yeah. So there, and then of course Barris Hammond.
Barris was the final vocalist that we had.
So you had a number of vocalists. Now, is it accurate that the first song that Zapow released was this beautiful song? It's so dreamy. It's so this instrumental track that's called Mystic Mood.
Yeah,
was that the first track that you released?
That's the first song we recorded.
Wow, because that song is so awesome. I have to ask about the song because I was listening to it a lot. And now I understand the song was written by David Madden. Is that true?
The melody of the song.
The melody was written by David Madden?
Yeah, but the arrangement of the song.
Yeah, that's your arrangement.
Yeah.
And then
all the piano licks, the piano riff.
Yeah.
Stuff,
yeah.
I did all of that. And the dialogue section.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. That's you.
That's me.
So let me make
my composition as well.
So let me make sure that everybody who's listening understands. Because in Mystic Mood is mostly an instrumental song. It's a beautiful, very dreamy song. And then you get into the song, and about halfway through, suddenly there's a monologue, there's a speaker, and that speaker is you, right? Yeah. And so, and it's amazing because I listened to it and I was listening to it, you know, it sounds like that song. It's like the perfect slow dance song. Like if you're at a dance and you want to have and if I was the DJ, and it was like I had to decide, okay, I have one last song to play at a dance. That's the song I'm gonna pick because there's no better song, right? You know, for that kind of situation. So I'm glad that I asked. Now, I wanted to also ask about the other song, which I know is another signature song, which of the Zapow, which is, of course, This Is Reggae Music, which I think is a song that you co-wrote, and I think it features Michael Williams on the vocal.
Right.
And this song too, if you can listen to it now, and I swear it sounds like it was made the other day. Like it's so fresh.
Yeah, man. You see what happened? What happened to Stephen?
Yeah.
We were not just musicians. We were the producers of these music. All those songs you're talking about.
Yeah.
Personal producer, the musician, financer, everything, the arranger, you know, so we took pride in every stage of the production.
That's why it's so tight. It's so tight.
And we made sure, like even we had a song called Sweet Love in Love.
Yeah.
We rehearsed that song. We went to the country and rehearsed that song before we went to the studios with it, you know?
Wow. Yeah. So you guys really, you know, made sure that the standard of what
it wasn't like a hustling thing. It was from the heart, everything coming from the heart. And the chemistry that we had is untouchable. Third World used to come and sit in front of us bandstand for most of our concerts when they were available, you know. So it's like we were the teachers. We were like the original show group.
And there's a verse, and just to take it back.
But guess what? I'm sorry, but I have to stick in this part.
Yeah.
You know why Zappo isn't as popular? I didn't get the recognition.
No, please tell me.
There was none of this in those times.
No press.
No video.
No video.
No video.
So no one knew, is what you're saying.
No
one knew how.
Just immediate, just like immediate people.
It was a local. It was more the local fame.
Yeah. So most of the stuff that we did, which was so great, isn't being exposed.
You guys were even signed at one point to Island Records.
Exactly.
Which is a giant record label, of course, the Bob Marley.
Yeah. And even Chris Blackwell himself said, what this package has, because we were communicatable, you know. It was internationally ready-made for world movement. That's Zappo.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic band, and I hope that people, after they listen and watch this interview, will go back and pull up some Zappo
stuff on here,
and listen to it, and you'll be blown away. Now, and I'm about to, I have to, of course, ask about the Roots Radix, but before I get to the Roots Radix, because of course I have to ask about the Roots Radix, but before I get to the Roots Radix, I need to ask about the moment which we touched on where you went to the School of Music.
Yeah. Can I just stick in a last thing about Zappo before we
please. Oh, please, Dwight.
Okay. You hear the song that Junior Gang did, the first big hit?
Yeah, well, welcome to Jamrock.
Yeah. You hear that bass line?
The bass line, doesn't that come from This Is Reggae Music?
Right.
Wow.
Right. you hear Prodigy, bubbling,
Yes. Which song of his? Oh, Blood Money?
bubbling. Try and listen Prodigy, bubbling.
Bubbling.
Yeah, that's one of my composition, but Zappo did.
Nice. I have to go
And-
back and listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear Collybuds, come around.
I don't know that one. I have to go listen to that one.
Listen to them songs. The Zappo
So
line.
Zappow, the artist.
Sample. Yeah.
Yeah, the people are using your guys' stuff in the current.
Yeah. So Zappo was way ahead of our time, but better late than never.
Yeah, well,
No.
I'm glad I discovered it. Now, I think you said before that because people didn't realize that Zappow was how good it was, that unfortunately the financial returns weren't like you wanted, and that's when you took a year and that's what I wanted to make sure I ask you about, because I was very curious about this. I know that you went to this was called at that time the Jamaican School of Music, and I wanted to ask, did you, because you were there and you received this formalized music training, we discussed people like Melba Liston and people who were there, and I think you would later teach at the school a little bit yourself too.
Yeah.
But when you went back and you joined, now I'm going to get to the Roots Radix, and you started to go back and you were playing, because so many Jamaican musicians who I have interviewed and seen play are self-taught musicians, mostly self-taught musicians. When you came back into your recording and you're trying to incorporate some of what you had learned through the formal instruction into this kind of roots, raw material, did you get any kind of blowback, any kind of, hey man, from any of the old school musicians, or were they very accepting?
No, I didn't get any blowback, right?
Yeah.
Because I was a street musician before I went to school.
So they knew you were cool.
We could relate.
Yeah, they knew you were cool. They knew you were cool.
And the encouragement was in the end product.
Nice. Yeah, they knew. Yeah.
Because like I can remember when I went to Channel One earlier in the days, right? Earlier in the days, when I went to Channel One, and the engineer, the musicians knew me, but like the engineer didn't know me.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know of me or anything. So I can distinctly remember when we were recording.
Yeah.
And when we're listening back, he used to turn down my track.
Wow.
So you could hardly hear my track. But I noticed it started gradually getting, after session, it started getting loud until I had to be the one to tell him, no, my track too loud. So that was one funny aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Going to the school of music, I must big up, before we're going further, my teachers, first and foremost, Melba Liston.
Yeah.
Peter Ashburn.
Okay.
Peter Ashburn. He was the one who played the solo piano, took the solo on Mystic Mood.
Oh wow.
Peter Ashburn.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. Wow.
The original riff which I arranged was done by Aubrey Adams.
Cool.
Yeah, the late great Aubrey Adams.
Cool.
Ding.
I have to go look up.
I gave him that riff to play in my arrangement for Mystic Mood.
Did you, when you were at the Jamaican School of Music, did you learn, or did you already know how to read music? Was that?
I had an idea, but I actually learned more accurately, fluently.
How to read music.
Yeah, and how to write, and how to, especially know how to arrange
music. And would you
Arrangement is a whole
different
new
thing?
ball game in terms of let me put it this way. If you're making a lemonade
Yeah,
and you threw too much sugar,
yeah.
too much lime in it,
You go mess it up.
mess it up. So you have to know the right
The
ingredient
right balance.
and the right balance. So that was one of the great secret of arranging that I learned.
Would you recommend to a young musician today that they should try to get some formalized music training?
Definitely. But they should also listen a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Listen to everything,
yeah.
right?
Now, Dwight, like I say, you are and continue to be and have been for a long time a key component of the Roots Radix legendary band that, as I said earlier, dominated reggae music and still is a name to contend with in reggae music and always will be. And as I shared with you, of course, about a year ago, I had the great honor to interview Flabba
Yes.
too, and so I have nothing but the greatest of respects for the Roots Radix, and of course the Radix, they back all of the biggest names in reggae, including Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs, Bunny Wailer, just to name a few. I mean, the list, as I told Flabba when I tried to tell him, I said we could be here all day. We don't even have time to list all the names of
That's
the people
true.
that the Radix played with. But I want to focus for a minute, selfishly, because Gregory Isaacs is got to be one of my favorite singers, and then in particular, Night Nurse. It has to be one of my all-time favorite songs. Do you have any? Do you remember recording? First of all, do you remember when you guys recorded that? And did you realize when you recorded it, that this song was going to be so giant?
No, we knew that the song was great.
Yeah,
We didn't know where it would go, right?
yeah,
Because we were doing an album. So
yeah,
the focus was on the album, but because of the chemistry that we shared as the band,
yeah,
in those days, they say, if you want a hit, you have to go for Roots Radix or Sly and Dunbar, Sly and Robbie.
Those were the bands. Yeah,
Yeah,
one or the other.
yeah. So all the artists, all the producers, everybody used to bring their act to the Roots Radix. So Flabba and Gregory were very close, right? So we had been doing recordings with Gregory before we did the Night Nurse album, and most of them went #1 in Jamaica. Some like Front Door and #1, Top 10, and so when we were doing the Night Nurse album, it was just like doing
All the other
ones.
ones. Oh man, you guys are making so many hits.
But the chemistry was there, that which we always have in the studio, sometimes it sounds like Flabba and Style is that war, but that war brings out extra special energy and force and drive in the music that remarkable.
Dwight, Gregory Isaacs, he seemed like such a. I watched another movie that you have accredited in, The Land of the Look Behind, and there's some raw footage of Gregory Isaacs in that film. It's so amazing to watch. And then, of course, I guess I just have such an appreciation for Gregory Isaacs' work. I wanted to ask you, because you work with him, what can you say about Gregory Isaacs? What is a fond memory that you have, and also, what is something that people don't really know about the Gregory Isaacs that maybe they should?
All right. Gregory Isaacs, he's one of the kindest soul you can meet. And then, like I was saying about Bob, I can say almost the same thing about Gregory.
Yeah.
He pays his musician them well.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than what the regular people paying.
He took care of him.
Yeah, he took care of them, and he's always funny. You know, he there's never, you just have to love Gregory. No care what him do. You have to love him because he's so funny, and he says the darnest things.
He make you laugh.
Yeah. We were on the plane one day going to, I think it was Hawaii, right? And Gregory, the flight attendant told Gregory, he unbuckled his seatbelt.
Oh,
So the flight attendant told him to buckle his seatbelt.
look at it back. Yeah.
So in just drawing shirt to white. His shirt to white and put him on around it.
Wow, that is so funny.
Later on, he ordered. What did he order? I think this sausage or something like that. So Gregory look on us and say, because you know that Rastaman don't eat certain things.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't see that.
Go and go tell Selassie. Go and go tell Selassie.
Oh my gosh, that's so
such a
funny.
fun.
Oh,
To
man.
be around. Everything him say.
It made you laugh. Yeah.
Humorous. Yeah, man. And
Dwight,
he's very intelligent, you know.
yeah.
Very intelligent.
I'm so glad that I asked. Dwight, now, as you know, prior to our interview today, I asked some reggae fans on social media if they had any questions that they thought I should ask you today. And of course, there were, plenty of good submissions. And I told, them, I'll just try to do some of them, not all of them justice, because we don't have all day. You have to go. And I want to thank you for being so generous with your time. We're almost at the end. And I want to thank you again. But there are two people who asked questions. The first that comes from a very knowledgeable reggae lover, a person who goes by the name of Brigadier Lion on Twitter, and he wants to know, quote, this is his question: do you think that the Roots Radix created the 80s sound of Jamaica? And what role did producer Junjo Laws play to achieve the Radix unique style? That's his question.
Okay. Well, the first part of his question is that the Radix created a signature sound of Jamaica in the 80s.
True.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, I believe that.
The role that Junjo Laws played was not a musical role as such. It was more of a financing role, because he used to book the studio,
right,
and bring the artist. He located the artist,
right,
and brought them to the studio. But once he brought them to the studio, everything else was left to the Radix.
He had no impact on the actual creation
no
of the
impact
music.
at all on the production. Just finding the artist and financing the production. It wasn't like a person who come into the studio and say, I want this, or I want that style, or I want. All of that was left on Flabber and those guys to produce, conduct, arrange, and play the music.
Now, Dwight, not to go too much down a rabbit hole, and I'm going to ask you now. I'm just going to say, because there will be no way I could ask you all the questions today that I would like to. So I'm hoping, my hope is, Dwight, is that at some point, maybe towards the end of this coming year in 2022, that maybe we'll be able to maybe have another conversation, so that maybe I can ask you some of the questions that because I only asked you, there's so many questions. I didn't even ask about one of your whole bands, the DP band, and so many questions to ask. So maybe at a future point down the road, we'll be able to do a part 2 of the interview. Thank you so much for being agreeable to that. Let me ask this other question though, of this other person who goes by the name of Paolo Delano. They asked a very interesting question, I thought, which is, what artists did you want to play or collaborate with during your very lengthy career, but that you were unable to, that you wished you could have played with, but that you didn't get a chance to?
Why, that's a tough one.
Yeah, right?
There are so many artists that I don't really have a special, as long as they are on the same vibes level. Anyone would be good, because I don't really do this for the glory of men.
Yeah.
I do it for glory
Love
to
of
the
the
Father.
music. Yeah.
So any artist that is on the same wavelength,
You'll collaborate with.
I collaborate with them, as long as it's possible. But I have no regrets so far, because I've worked with so many artists.
So many.
Playing the guitar for them is just like collaborating with them anyway, even if they are vocalists. You know what I mean? So
respect, so much respect for that. And now, Dwight, before we wrap up today's interview, I just want to very briefly return to that album Knockout and ask you about this track number 7, which is another one of my favorite tracks on the album. And it's a song that's called Tribute to Harry, which I understand is a tribute to Harry Belafonte. And I wanted to ask, what was the genesis? What was it that made you come up with that very cool track? Why did you want to include this tribute to Harry Belafonte on the new album?
Well, the reason is just to add variety, number 1, and honor a great Jamaican musician.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Respect.
Yeah, man. And those songs are songs that I've grown up with on the hotel scene.
Everybody loves those songs.
Yes, yeah. So I thought it was fitting,
Yeah, for sure.
To modernize them and even offer them in my style to the people.
Man, it's wicked. It's so wicked, Dwight. Now, in addition to Knockout, Dwight, in addition to the album Knockout, Dwight, are there any additional music projects that your fans around the world, of which you have very many, that they should be on the lookout for from you in 2022, or beyond? Is there anything you can tell people about, what they should expect from Dwight Pinkney going forward?
Yes. I can't predict exactly what it will be, but I'll be working for sure. And as soon as it's ready, you'll get it. Respect.
Now, finally, Dwight, I'm going to let you get the final word in a moment. But what I want to let you know is that after we hang up today, first of all, I'll be in touch with you soon about the publication and some of the details, a few other things about this interview. So we'll be in touch as we have been. Dwight, my second to last question, which they call the penultimate question I have for you is, what message do you have? What kind of final message do you want to share with all of your fans that are around the world? Many people have been deprived of hearing from, live, the great legends, because people haven't been touring, people stuck in their houses and the world is going through a very tough time. What do you want all the Dwight Pinkney fans to know?
Well, I'd like you all to know that don't give up. Life goes on, although it's altered in some form, but keep the faith. Respect. And do what you can do to help others along the way.
Love it.
And you'll find a lot of joy in that. you know.
Oh man, that's so well said. And my very last question for you today, Dwight, before we hang up, and again, I want to say now, because I want to give you the last word on this, and then we'll say our goodbye. Is just thank you again, Dwight. A massive respect. You know, I want you to stay safe. You know, we're losing so many reggae legends these days, left and right, the reggae legends, and we don't want to lose you. So we want you to stay healthy and stay safe. Keep making all this great music that you're doing. I hope that you'll keep putting out this music, because, like I say, knockout, man, it knocked me out. You know, I keep playing it, and every time I play it, it's only better. And so my last question, before we say goodbye, for today, is this, Dwight. How would you like your career and your very distinguished legacy in the history of reggae to be remembered? How would you like folks to remember Dwight Pinkney, you know, his contribution to reggae?
Well, I'd like people to remember me as someone who did it from my heart. Money wasn't my priority, but soul satisfaction was more my priority, and connecting with others, adding a little joy in their lives was my priority. So that's how I'd like them to remember me, as a friend, a musical friend who tried to uplift them with music.
Thank you so much, Dwight.
You're welcome, Stephen.
Dwight, we'll be in touch, and stay safe, and we'll talk, man. Thank you so much, man.
Enough respect, enough respect.
Enough respect. Bless up, Dwight. Bye-bye, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.